Greetings, be blessed. I hope you're having a beautiful day. If you aren't, just remember, I love you, God loves you, you are loved. I kind of just want to jump on here and give you guys a reminder about life's lessons. That's one of the big reasons I actually started my podcast, was to share the life lessons that I've learned and the things that I've gone through, in hopes that it helps other people wherever they're at in life and on their journey. And today I got this big reminder that if you learn something from any situation, it's not a loss, or whatever you feel like you've lost or failed at. As long as you learn from it, it isn't a loss. It's not taking an L. It's when you don't learn from a situation is when you quote unquote take an L. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I was in deep thought last night before I went to sleep. And I was just thinking about a situation that happened right before I went on vacation to Florida. And I was kind of beating myself up about it. And then I realized, although I may have kind of went backwards on my journey, I won't ever go backwards again. So I learned something valuable from that situation and realized that it's okay in a sense, because I learned from it and I'm growing from it, and I know not to do the same thing twice or make that same mistake twice. And so that's where I'm at right now. I feel like it's necessary to remind people that if you learn something from something, then it's not a loss and it's not a mistake or failure, because that's one of the big reasons we're here on this planet, is to learn, grow, and honestly just to love more. Learning how to love yourself in situations, learning how to love yourself in any circumstances, learning how to love others in situations and circumstances. It doesn't matter, as long as you are growing with yourself and learning to love yourself in each way, then you're moving right along on your journey. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm learning to not beat myself up over things that I don't need to, I don't have to. Okay, let's just talk here. How many of us truly overly judge ourselves? People don't have to do the judging for us, because we judge ourselves enough. We're our biggest critics, and sometimes our biggest enemies. And I'm talking about myself here. Some days I will literally, I'll be like, what the heck? I'll literally tear my own head off. And then I'm in my head like, why are you doing that? It's not that deep. The situation is not that serious. It doesn't cause for that. And it just shows me where I'm lacking love within myself for myself. And then if I can't love myself, how can I love others? And so I always end up getting to this place where I have to do something, or not really do something, but continue to go inside myself. That sounds weird, but do inner work in order to love myself more. And sometimes that doesn't mean dismissing a situation or whatever. It just means that you are acknowledging where you made a mistake, and you are kind of setting not rules for yourself, but what's the word? I don't want to say guidelines. I don't know the word for it right now, but you're setting yourself up to never do that same thing over again, which means you're learning from that situation. And honestly, that happens for a lot of us all the time. You try something, or you dabble in something, and then you realize it's not for you, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. Or I don't know, this is probably a terrible example, but the other day, not the other day, but maybe 2 weeks ago, no, it's definitely not the other day, but 2 weeks ago, I had hung out with somebody, and this might sound mean, but it's not meant to, but I was I wanted to hang out with this person for a while. Then I hung out with her, and then I was just like, dang, I'm probably never going to hang out with her again. And I felt bad about it, but then I realized, I don't even want to get into that. Let's just say, don't judge a book by its cover. I definitely mentioned that in my first ever podcast, and it's still valid to this day, because seriously. But the whole thing was, I learned from that mistake, so to speak. And I'm not trying to say it was a mistake to hang out with this individual, but in reality, it kind of was, because hanging out with her, I felt very drained after. I felt like she literally just she had this very negative energy about her, and it's just, being around her, I felt very suppressed. I don't know how to explain it, but after I, left that, encounter, or that situation, or hanging out with her, I felt so I don't know, I felt like my spirit got attacked. the whole point is I learned from that, and I know not to just hang out with anybody. And also being kind of empathic, you pick up on a lot of things sometimes. And so that was something else, that I was just picking up a lot of her issues and problems, and they were just really attacking my spirit. But I learned from that, and now I know that I can't just hang out with anyone. I can't just be around anyone. I can't just give my energy to anyone, and I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be very careful about who I give my time to, my energy to, etc., etc. But whole point is, it's about taking those lessons and making the effort to do better. As long as you're trying to do better, that's what really counts. Sometimes me and my nieces have conversations about like heaven and hell, and I know those are things I don't really like to talk about, because it's like in a religious setting, it's used as a fear tactic, saying if you don't do this or you disobey God, you're going straight to hell, like the stuff like that. So I tend not to talk about that on this podcast specifically, because I just don't like to put that energy out there. The last thing I like to do is spread fear through my podcast. I'd rather spread love. But, when I'm talking to my nieces and nephews and stuff, sometimes that conversation comes up and we talk about it. And the reason why they talk to me about it is because I grew up in church, literally. Like, my parents are ministers or pastors, and so this is stuff I've been learning about since I was a child. And it wasn't like it was, I just go to church and learn about it, but it was pretty actively learning throughout the day, every single day, for a good 15 years of my life. And I'm only 22 now, and I didn't start I'm not going to say finding my own way, because I'm not finding my own way, so to speak. I'm still very much a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. Also, believe in whoever you want. That has nothing to do with me. This is just where I'm at in my journey. So this is who I choose to believe in, because that's who has saved me on my path, and who has, embraced me and given me so much love that I can't even comprehend, to a point where it's like, wow, like this feeling is amazing. But that's just, who I serve. And I'm not telling anybody else they have to do that. And I'm also bringing that up because sometimes I feel that people take my podcast and they're like, oh man, he's just a Christian, I can't listen to what he has to say or his opinion or blah, 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 blah. And, that is up to a person, obviously. But I just want to put that out there. I'm not telling anybody they have to serve who I serve or any of the, the same thing. I mean, it wouldn't be bad, I say that, but that is completely up to you. You're free to do whatever you like. But the whole point is that I was bringing that up is we have these conversations, me and my nieces and sometimes my nephews, we have these conversations about heaven and hell, and they tell me oh, I did this, does that mean I'm going to hell, or does that mean God is mad at me, or blah 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 blah. And not blah blah blah, but they go on and they tell me these things, and I'm like, no. One thing you need to understand is the outcome is already been set. I'm not saying it's set in stone, but the outcome is the outcome. Whatever you chose in eternity past or kingdom eternity is what you're going to, end with, if that makes sense. God knows whatever promises that he promised you. He knows whatever covenant you guys have together. He knows all that. So if you came on earth for a specific task or duty, and you're here to learn specific lessons, and that's what this is all about, learning more, growing, learning to love, then, that's what you're here to do. And whatever mistakes you make along the way, as long as you learn from those mistakes, then it's okay. It's just when you get trapped in a cycle of not learning and you have to repeat the same thing over and over again. And let's talk about it. It happens pretty often. And I'll use myself as an example. I kept attracting the same type of person over and over and over again. And I didn't understand why, because until the end, when I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to learn something from this energy or this person. And I kept attracting Pisces, and it was another one, and Capricorns. And I was just like, what in the world is going on? And then I realized that I had to learn lessons from both of those energies. And I say energies because it didn't matter if it was, when I say relationships, I mean friendships, just any type, dating, all of that. But whole point is I had to learn something from that individual and the energy that they carry, blah, 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 blah. But once I learned that lesson, I noticed that that energy was no longer repeating or coming around as much anymore. And so it was like, okay, I've learned something from it, I gained something from it, I can move on from it. And sometimes I feel like we get stuck in cycles where we have to repeat, or we have to keep learning something. Oh, well, not relearning, but we have to keep going through a situation until we learn whatever it is that we need to learn from it. And sometimes God has to do that in order for us to overcome it or get victory over a situation or truly just grow. Because in my personal experience, I've learned that majority of what I get stuck in has to do with the lack of love. So like, let's say I have a person in my life that is like a repeat offender. They do something over and over again, and I just get mad every single time. So how do I combat that? Or how do I get past that? How do I get the victory over that situation? Instead of getting mad and going off on them or cussing them out or doing this or that, I hit them with love. I hit them with love. And in return, I get love back because it's a different perspective. And by different perspective, when you move out of love, it's what you call back into your life. It's like what you put out there is what you get back. Seriously. And I believe in that very wholeheartedly. What you put out there is what you get back. So you're putting love out there. That's what you're going to get back. Put out anger, you're going to get back anger. It's like a mirror, a reflection. And I've talked about this in other podcasts, how I've stated that your world or your perspective is definitely somewhat a mirror. Or I can't say yours, but mine for sure is a mirror. And by that I mean whatever is going on the inside of my mind, it's definitely reflected back to me in my reality. I can't ignore that. I can't run from that. It is what it is. And so when I see things that I don't like, I'm quick to try to figure out, okay, well, why don't I like this? How can I learn from this? How can I not necessarily fix the situation, but grow to either love it or, I don't want to say accept it. Well, yeah, definitely accept it, but not like dismiss it or whatever. So I get to this place where I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is me lacking love in whatever sector of my life. So I have to get to a place where I'm like, okay, how can I learn to love this situation or learn to love this person or learn to be more accepting? And in doing so, it helps. It helps me personally. Like just even breaking situations down. And I know not everybody has the time or even the care to do that, but that's how I've kind of managed my journey, is learning how to analyze things, but also take necessary action. And when I say that, I mean like learning how to love just in general, because the statement's true. Kill them with kindness. It's different. It's different when you show the love of God. Sometimes that will honestly kind of shut a person up, Like I'm not trying to say like that is what you have to do, but like seriously, it kind of leaves them like, oh dang, I can't even be mad at this person anymore, or whatever the case may be. So anytime I'm faced with these situations that kind of try to leave me feeling some type of way, I'm a protector of my own energy first and foremost. Like I'm going to protect my energy first. So I have to, in order to do that, I got to not get into the same energy as somebody that's coming at me, or get into the same energy as a person that is in a negative vibration. And I don't know, I'm probably getting off on a tangent right now. I didn't mean for this to go to this direction. My whole point of this podcast was just kind of to remind you that if you learn something from any lesson or situation and you make the effort to do better, then it's not a loss. You're not taking an L. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. You just move past it. Literally move past it. Sometimes I think of life as this literal long road, marathon, if you will. You're running it. Sometimes you're walking it. Sometimes you are so beat up that you got to sit down and take a breather. But every time you get back up, you continue on the journey. And there might be some hurdles in the way. There might be some roadblocks. There might be some things to kind of trip you up. And it's okay if you fall, as long as you get back up. It's okay if you tumble and you have to stay down for a little bit and rest and regain your energy or recharge or whatever the case may be, as long as you get up and move forward. Don't get trapped. And I don't know why I feel necessary to say this, but again, with the whole mirror reality, imagine you're running on a road or you're walking and all of a sudden you see this mirror and it's yourself. Do you look at it or do you just run past it? Most of us are going to look at that mirror and we might get intrigued, might get scared. It might be one of them funny circus house mirrors where it looks all warbly and wobbly and it's like, what is going on? But either way you're gonna look at it, right? Or for me, I'd look at it. But the whole point is, we can sometimes be our biggest critics and our enemies to keep us in place. Well, all we have to do is just get past ourselves. And that sometimes goes with the lessons that we learn. As long as you are learning from it, then you're good. You don't have to be sad or mad or depressed or get into like a squabble with yourself and be mad at yourself. Or it's not necessary. You just kind of have to get past it. I don't know if any of this made sense, but I hope it did. I just kind of felt the need to talk about that because, that's my thing. Live, learn, talk about it, grow, all of that good stuff. You got to be easy on yourself. We're all trying to navigate what feels like a new world, and I myself have been there where I feel like I can't do anything right, but in reality, you are doing right. Even if you seem like you're failing or your life isn't going in the direction you think it should go, that doesn't mean it's not going in the direction that it should be going. God works in mysterious ways, and I know you guys have all heard that, and it's the truth. Everything works together for your highest good, and that's a fact. So if something doesn't go through, or something happens, or something changes, or you fail, or you have to learn a lesson, or whatever the case may be, just know it is working together for your highest good, even if it doesn't seem like that in this current moment or whenever it happens. Eventually you'll be able to see it from the other side, and you'll understand that you have learned something, or you've grown from the experience or the time. But again, you got to be easy on yourself. And I've said this in many podcasts before, but it's like a dance, learning yourself and loving yourself. You have to ease yourself, because honestly, sometimes no one else will. And if you can't pick yourself up, who else is going to pick you up? You got to be your own best friend, and it'll get you a long ways, I promise. But a reminder, you are doing great. You're doing great. You're surviving, and you are making it. And again, this pandemic, the last year and a half has been crazy, okay? People have been tried and tested, and they've had a lot of lessons that they've needed to learn, and I'm included in this. We've had to go through so much, but it's going to be worth it in the end. It's going to be really worth it. And the growth that you're going to have from the next couple of years, or even the current season that you're in, is going to be powerful. So just stay afloat and keep going, keep pushing, and be easy on yourself. Please be easy on yourself. Not everything has to be so hard, and it's not. Some things are just simple lessons that you learn and you move on from. Others, God has to continuously bring them around in order for us to overcome or learn something from it. But once we do, we can put it behind us and keep moving forward. Sorry guys, this was added on, but I needed to say that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Just remember, there are no L's if there was a lesson learned. God bless you. Be blessed. Have a beautiful week. And please, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to share it with your friends and family, or whoever you think may need it. Let's help each other out. You guys be blessed and have a beautiful week. Actually, have a blessed year. Honestly, I'm going to just bless your year. Have a blessed year. Have a blessed month. Have a blessed week. Have a blessed day. God bless y'all.